Folks, Wes here, working on my new Gatsby website, and I figured I loaded all my hot tips. These are hot tips that come in from Twitter, and they're pretty cool. And there's too many on one page, even though like I probably could leave this because it loads the images on demand, meaning that the size of the page load is not that much. But I feel like it's a bit too much to have to scroll through all of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to figure out how to add pagination to it. There's a plugin here that does it for you, but I'm just going to try do it from scratch just to go through the process of it. So let's jump in. I have where is my code? There we go. And I have a tips page that I'm going to open up. That's not it. That's a JSON array. Okay. So we need some sort of like pagination that will tell us how many go on each page. And I think the first thing that we need to do is to only limit this number per page by however many we want. So let's look at the Gatsby docs here. They're telling us to limit and skip what we want. So let's go into our thing here. We're going to limit and skip. Now, where does this limit? The limit is fine. Like, let's just assume there's 10 per page or hard code that. Now, how does the skip variable get in to a page query? Oh, that's passed via context. Yeah, that's passed by context. So skip. How do you do default values? GraphQL default values. Episode skip equals 0. So that should fix it. No, that's not allowed. Come on, nah. Oh, that goes in the function definition. Okay. Let's see what they're doing here. Yeah, I see. You have to modify your query. So query will say tips, and that takes in a skip, which is going to be an integer set to 0 by default. Will that fix it? Ref data is all defined. Come on now. There we go. I just need to refresh it. Okay, so that works. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go into our Gatsby node and write some code that will turn the tips page in dynamically. Because right now I just have this page right here that's just called tips. And what we need to do is dynamically generate page 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So what we'll do is let's just copy this, make tips pages here. We'll duplicate that and we'll say paginate. What do they call it in the Gatsby docs? Let's see. They don't make a name for it. Okay, we'll call it paginate tips. Actually, no, we'll call it paginate because we'll be able to use this for a blog post as well. Okay, so paginate, and this should also take in a collection name. Okay. We'll get that. Um, Now at this point, I just need to, we can use the page source pages tips.js. At this point, I need to know how many do we have. So if we were to run this query on our local host, there we go. Nodes, there's like a count or something like that. Let's see here. It's edges, not just nodes. So all MDX edges, total count. Okay, that's what we want. So all MDX total count. And I think that's all we need. Get rid of that. And here we should just be able to console.log the data. Then we need to run this paginate when the create pages. So we'll just duplicate that and run paginate. And then we'll also pass the collection, which is going to be, what do we call it? Tips? Tip, singular. Okay, so now when we restart the sucker, we should see this data showing up. This takes a long time in Gatsby. Every time you modify your Gatsby node, you got to wait for it to, you got to restart the whole thing, which is annoying. So hopefully at some point we'll start seeing. All right, here we go. I've got this. Here's the data, all MDX total count. It tells us there's 255 tips. And so now we need to figure out how many pages there are. So const pages is equal to math.ceil. We'll take the const total count is equal to data.all MDX. Say math.ceil total count divided by, and I'm just gonna hard code 10 here. You could pop that somewhere else in like a, you could pop that in like a config or environmental variable or something like that. I'll just hard code the 10 for now and swap that out. And the reason why we do sealing is because if you have like 10 per page and you have 14 posts, you want 2 pages. So you don't want 1.4 pages, you want 2 pages. So we have that. And then we need to just loop over it. And actually the docs does exactly how I do it in my other advanced React course, is that you just make an array with however many pages, and then you loop over that and run create page for each one. So if I say array from length of pages, and then we'll say for each, what do they use here? They use an underscore and oh yeah, it's because you don't actually need the blank spot in the index. So for each page, use the create pages API to dynamically create that page. So we say actions dot create page, and that needs a couple things. You see, I've used it already for the individual tips. We need a path, a component to render, and then the context. So say the path is going to be / tips / the index. Probably plus 1, because the index would be like 0 on page 1, but that should be page 1. So index plus 1. And then the component that we want to render out is going to be the, we'll call it tips page, which I've required that right there. And then context is going to be, So we need to know like what needs to be sent in via context, and that is what gets slotted into this skip variable right here. So say skip is equal to, so if it's on page 1, then skip is 0. So if we're on page 0 times 10, that's 0. But if we're on page 1, if we're on page 2, we don't want to skip 21, we want to skip 10. So what we'll do is we take the index, which is going to be, oh, no, you just multiply it times 10 because it's already offset by 1. So if we're on page 1, the index will be 2, and multiply that by 10. That's skipping 10. Okay. I think that's it. I don't want to look at the docs too much. So I feel like I can get this. So now when we restart the sucker, it should create 27 different pages. And the way we can tell actually is if you look at the public folder, we should see a bunch of tips pages populated in here once it runs. This takes a little long. This is one thing I like about Next.js a lot better, is that Next.js will only generate that once you actually route to it. And Gatsby, even when you're developing, Gatsby will generate it all on page load. There we go. So we got our 255 tips, whole bunch of warnings that I can't do anything about. Any pages in there? Let's see once it's done running all these different queries. Oh, it worked. Look at this. So we have /tips /1, 2, 3, 4 all the way to 27. And then each of those will probably get an index .js. Hopefully. Let's try it. Tips 2. Oh, it's not running yet. Oh my gosh, this Gatsby takes forever. I want to work on my website. Okay. I ended up just doing a whole Gatsby clean, which removes all the saved directories. The downside is that I had to wait like how many seconds? 465 seconds to regenerate all of my thumbnails. And now let's see if it works. So I'll go to /tips. That should still be a normal. But if I go to /2, look at that. 2, 3. So now I'm getting 10 per page, and I'm paginating them. So the next step that we need to do is to create some sort of like previous next arrow jobby. So let's go into our components directory and make a new file called pagination.js. And we will import React from React. Make a function called pagination. That should take in a collection. Oh, you know what? I was gonna make this component like take in a collection, so it could either be a post or a tip, because those are my two content types. I was gonna do a GraphQL query in this component right here, and then based on the collection, whether it's tips or blog posts, show that. But the problem is that Gatsby only allows you to put variables, like our collection variable, into a query if it's at a page level, which sucks because that's a big bummer. So you have to use static query. I think that what I can do is go into my tips page, because this is a page level, and I can just pass the total count value down. Well, that's a good idea. I already have that data. I don't need to have another GraphQL query. So I will take in a total count, and then let's just return paragraph. There are total count. Then we go in, let's do it right here. Pagination. This needs to be auto imported. Come on, auto import. Oh, you know why? It's because I didn't export it. Auto import. Nope, not going to work. Let's just pagination from components. Pagination. Okay. We'll go into our pagination. I bet this sucker will work now. So there are total count. Oh, I got to pass total count to the pagination. So, and I believe we can access that via page context. And let's just see what we've got with page context. Come on, console log. Page context, good. And we get our skip value, which is what we wanted. We also, how do we get the current page? We could calculate it from that, or we could pass it in our Gatsby node. Let's pass it. Current page is equal to I plus 1. And I'll say current page is equal to the page context dot current page. Okay. And then I'm rerunning it. I accidentally did Gatsby clean, so gotta sit here. Oh, a bit of an error. Current page. What did we do? Oh, this is the wrong create page. It's here. All right, I'm back. I accidentally hit Gatsby clean. Now everything is running. But now we should have the current page being passed into us, into our pagination. And we'll try to destructure that now. Current page. And we should pop that in here. So it should say, here we go. You're on page 3 of 26. There are 255 tips. We can maybe move that into another. Here, I'll do a div here. Another paragraph. Paste that in. Okay. So now we need to work on links to previous and next pages. So we will give ourselves a Gatsby link component. See if we can auto import that. There we go. Link to backspace /tips maybe we'll make some variables on here. Const next page is equal to current page minus 1, and no, next page is plus 1, and the previous page is minus 1, and we'll just assume they exist right now. Then we'll add some logic to remove them. So /tips /prev page. Prev, and then do for that with the next. Sure. All right. So prev. Look at this. Are our tips updating? Oh. Okay. So now we need to take care of disabling these links when there is no previous page. So when you are on page 1, we need to disable the link. Can you just say disable on a link? disabled. Disabled equals true. No. How did I disable links? You can remove it, ref, or add a click handler that returns false. You need to remove the A tag. Cursor not allowed. Opacity. Text decoration none. Probably also do pointer events none on that. So we want to say disabled is equal to if the prev page is greater than 0 and the next page is if the next page okay, so if we're on page 26, so we'll say if the next page is greater than the total pages. And then we'll do a little bit of styling here. Pagination styles. Say const paginations is equal to styled dot div. Try to import that. There we go. And let's just say display grid. Grid template columns. We want auto 1FR auto. Let's just get rid of this whole thing together. So there should be 3 children. There's not. This needs a paragraph around it. Okay. X-line center. Margin bottom. Okay, now we need to say A with the disabled. We'll just say background red. See if this is working. Okay, that's what we needed. We needed to explicitly pass a string of true or false. So true, false. Okay. No, that didn't work. Pass null here. That's what we want. Pass nothing and React will remove the attribute entirely. But you have to pass something, otherwise it will do that. So, no, what happened to my previous? That didn't work at all. JSX disabled. Let's see. How do you... Yeah, that's what I did. If the previous page is greater or equal to 0. I bet that was it. There we go. So my code is fine. It's just that I don't understand how numbers work. Okay, and then I click on next. Nope. Page 3, it shouldn't be disabled. So if the previous page is less than or equal to 0. Now if I go back to page 1, Yes. And then if I go to page 26, the next is disabled. Okay, cool. So what we'll do is we'll say opacity 0.2 or 0.5, pointer events none, cursor not allowed. Maybe not pointer events. There we go. Hey, I'm still able to click it. Let's put pointer events none on it. Just make it not clickable. Beautiful. Okay, so that is it. That is our pagination. I'm gonna style it a little bit more, but I don't know if you want to stick around for that or not. No, I think I'll end it right here. I'll figure out styling in just a bit, but that is how you do pagination with Gatsby. A lot simpler than I would have thought. It's kind of weird that it doesn't come out of the box with Gatsby, but I would assume that that code is easy to write, or you could probably throw a plugin that would do probably the exact same thing under the hood. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, smash the like button, everything. Follow me on Twitter if you're interested. Let me know if you want to see more Gatsby stuff, and I will catch you later.